Welcome everyone, also from my side. So my name is Janis Schofeld. I work as an education consultant at SAP. Actually, prior to that, before I started as an education consultant, I started in the development area of SAP. That was around 4 years ago. So I did software development, mostly in the then SAP Cloud Platform area, in the old so-called Neo environment. But also at that time, I had touch point to the Cloud Foundry environment, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Yeah, and then after a while, I started to give shorter trainings, and at some point, I transitioned into the education delivery area. So like actually delivering classroom trainings and also developing new material for trainings. So originally, my other topics or focus topics are SAP business workflow. So basically the, let's say, old world of workflow on premise. So I teach courses there, and then I'm also doing a little bit of ABAP courses, and now also cloud platform, or let's say business technology platform, as that's the new term to use. And here today in this session, I would like to talk about the SAP Workflow Management product suite, which contains several services, and they run on the BTP, the Business Technology Platform. So that's the term or the abbreviation that we see here on the slide. Yeah, maybe a little bit more from my side. So I'm based in Walldorf, Germany, and I live in Heidelberg. That's quite close to Walldorf. So maybe those of you who had the chance to get to the headquarters of SAP might know it. Otherwise, I recommend visiting as soon as it's possible again in terms of COVID. Yeah, and I'm holding this session out of my home office. It's quite similar to the trainings that we currently do. So all of our trainings, they are also delivered virtually currently, because classroom trainings are not possible. And also our instructor-led trainings we currently do via Zoom, and we call it SAP Live Class. That's quite similar. In the trainings, for sure, we have training systems and we have hands-on. Unfortunately, today we cannot have actual hands-on, but I will show you slides. I will show you some demos, and you can ask questions when you have them. Okay, let's have a quick look at the agenda. So I will start to talk a little bit about the term SAP Business Technology Platform and what it is about, a bit of the history, how it developed, and what it was before, and what capabilities there are in the Business Technology Platform. And then we sort of zoom into the platform, into the workflow management area, which is actually just a small part of the whole Business Technology Platform. And then you will hear about these different services that are part of the workflow management product. So that's the workflow service, the SAP Business Rules service, the process visibility service. And then there's also a concept called process flexibility and live processes, which are also part of SAP workflow management. And yeah, you will hear more about that later on. After showing you some demos and giving you some information about these services, I'm going to talk a little bit about APIs, just a quick overview. So how to interact with these services when you do actual software development programming and you maybe want to develop applications on the side of the actual platform or applications that you want to be integrated with the workflow management. So here we can use APIs. And then in the end, we have a small outlook like what's to come next, and also a few words about the upcoming classroom training, or let's say instructor-led training, called CLD 500. So that's the course we're currently developing, and it's close to the release. So soon this course will be available, 3-day course about the workflow management topic. Yeah. So SAP Business Technology Platform, or you might ask the question, what happened to SAP Cloud Platform? At least if you know or knew the SAP Cloud Platform. So maybe the good news first, the SAP Cloud Platform is not gone. It's still there. It just has another, let's say, branding. And actually that's a thing that happens quite often at SAP, unfortunately. Sometimes it seems like a hobby of SAP to just rename products, and then they seem like new products, but actually they are not that new. But still, there's always a reason why to rename. So it's just not only to annoy customers, but there's also some reasoning behind it. Yeah, and at SAP we often like to explain those things pointing at the history. So it's the history's or SAP history's fault that there are these rebrandings and renamings, and that may sometimes not be satisfying, but at least I hope it helps to understand a bit better. In this case, for the business technology platform, when did the whole journey begin? At least what I heard and could find out from sources within SAP, it actually started in 2009. And at that point in time, it wasn't called Business Technology Platform. It wasn't called Cloud Platform. So the internal project name was Next Generation Platform, NGP. Why Next Generation? Yeah, because until that point in time, there were some other sort of platform elements, like the NetWeaver server platform. But yeah, SAP was not there yet in the, let's say, cloud world. And this next generation platform was the, let's say, first attempt to get more into the direction of becoming a cloud company, and to also have like a common platform running in the cloud to provide applications and services. So then 3 years later, during that time, a lot was done on that platform, and it was made ready to be available for customers. So in 2012, it was actually released under the product name SAP NetWeaver Cloud. And here we see an abbreviation NEO. So it transformed from NGP to NEO. And this new name actually, it persisted until today. So we will also hear it later again. Then just 1 year later, you see here SAP HANA Cloud Platform. So the first rebranding. And why did that happen? Yeah, again, some major changes in the product portfolio. Just before that, the HANA database was released, and it became more and more popular. And it became so popular that SAP wanted to include this HANA name in, like, if possible, in any product name, just to show it off, basically. So the platform was called SAP HANA Cloud Platform. Although, yeah, the HANA database itself wasn't maybe that cloud ready at the time. So it could be deployed and used in the cloud, but it was actually not designed to be a database to be run in the cloud. Anyways, the name was used here for like 4 years, as you can see here. And then it was removed again. So HANA was removed out of this product name, and then we just used the name SAP Cloud Platform since 2017. But again, also at that point, there was again a major shift in the product. So at that point in time, additionally to the Neo environment, which was only run on SAP infrastructure, like SAP data centers, the Cloud Foundry environment was released, the Cloud Foundry environment of the SAP Cloud Platform. And now that added another layer into the platform, like an abstraction layer, to actually be able to abstract the cloud platform product and capabilities from the infrastructure layer. And here we use the Cloud Foundry open source software abstraction layer for that. And the first deployment was made on Amazon AWS infrastructure of this SAP Cloud Platform, Cloud Foundry environment. But then also later on, versions of the Cloud Platform were released in Microsoft Azure data centers and Google Cloud data centers. So that was the reasoning behind it. So there were some other changes in between. I won't talk too much about them. So it was also decided to additionally move the platform onto Kubernetes. And then maybe some of you have heard of it. Kubernetes is just another abstraction layer, also from the infrastructure, to make it even more easy to abstract from the infrastructure underneath and to be more flexible regarding deployment options. Yeah, and then just recently I put in 2021, but actually I think the term was also already used in 2020. Yeah, we had this rebranding into the SAP Business Technology Platform. And yeah, you can think of it as an umbrella term, which now includes a lot of technologies, but mainly it's the former SAP Cloud Platform. So actually, we still have the Neo and we still have the CF in the Business Technology Platform. So no worries. Everything that you knew of, it's still valid. There's just a few more things coming up. So the main reasoning behind it is we at SAP want to have one common platform to use whenever any sort of application, service, or offering is developed and brought to the customer. So everything that we do should run on our SAP Business Technology Platform. And this means like we want to do it ourselves, and we also would like our customers to follow this paradigm to have the Business Technology Platform as a base for everything that is developed, at least when it's SAP related. And you see here, that's capabilities, or let's say the current state. So we see 4 pillars here in this graphic: database and data management, analytics, application development, and integration and intelligent technologies. So you might see some of these technologies and services are, let's say, more of the classic sort. So they do exist since quite a while, like SAP HANA, for example, data warehousing, stuff like that. And then there's other services and applications that are, let's say, a bit newer, like the intelligent technologies on the right-hand side. For example, intelligent robotic process automation, blockchain, and stuff like that. So you cannot really say future technologies because they are already in use right now. but there's still a lot of future potential in these areas. So that's why they are here summed up under intelligent technologies. So where would we actually find workflow management on this slide? You might have read through the words probably and didn't find it. The workflow management, it's part of the so-called SAP extension suite. You see it down here in the application development and integration pillar here. So apart from that, you have integration capabilities, business process optimization capabilities, maybe also just as a quick word here, the Signavio acquisition that was just recently announced by SAP. So Signavio also a business process intelligence company with a product portfolio which is also in this kind of area. And that might also affect slightly the current workflow management offering, but not in a big way. It's more like an addition to the actual portfolio that is available. Yeah, let's have a look at the next slide, because that's still about the business technology platform, but more, looking at the future. So you see here target state and subject to change. So we are not there yet. There's ongoing improvement and ongoing development, but the actual idea or target is to have, not like in the slide before, these pillars next to each other, but actually a model with different planes building on top of each other. So that's the actual goal. So everything that is built at SAP should be built in the business technology platform, and it will use technologies of every plane that you see here. So foundational plane, like very foundational technologies and stuff, like actually the infrastructure layer down here, multi-cloud, different providers for the infrastructure. Also Kubernetes you see here. And then other services like, for example, identity and authentication, audit logging, integration capabilities, APIs and events. So all of these basic technologies that you somehow need in a platform to be able to connect things, to monitor things, and to administer things and stuff like that. Then on top of that, you see the data plane with a lot of different data technologies. So you would also find HANA somewhere in here, maybe other database technologies as well, data warehousing, analytics and stuff like that. And then on top, and that's where now our today's topic comes into the equation, we find the application plane, which builds on top of these other two layers. And here we see workflow, RPA, robotic process automation, as one part of it. So that's where we are here. But everything that is done here makes use of technologies and services which reside in the other layers here. Okay, zooming further into the picture, now we come to the actual extension suite. And I told it before, workflow management is part of that. You see here digital process automation. So there are also other capabilities related to digital process automation, not only workflow management, but also IRPA, process mining, live process content. We will also talk about that a little bit. And then you see some other tools here, like developer tools, Business Application Studio, one very important part. We will also see it today. And I think there are also other live sessions planned for this topic, Business Application Studio, in the Learning Hub. Yeah, and then here in this picture, the actual background is you have the SAP pillar on the left-hand side, and the third-party pillar on the right-hand side. And in the middle, you see this sort of cloud, like connecting these two. Yeah, this shall just depict that we can use these services like workflow management to extend SAP applications with, for example, third-party applications, or also with other SAP applications. So we could come from one SAP application, let's say SuccessFactors, and then connect it via the workflow with some other SAP application, let's say S/4HANA Cloud or something like that. So there we have this extensibility. And then again, everything runs on top of the multi-cloud foundation. Yeah, even more into the workflow management capabilities. So we heard it already in the agenda. So we have the workflow service, so responsible for runtime and execution of workflows, so that tasks and work items get delivered to the correct users. Workflow definitions can be executed, and yeah, everything related to the actual workflows. But then apart from these workflows, you would also have other things that are related and that are also required, and that are, yeah, on the one hand side, the business rules, as you can see here. So you can design decisions within the business rules service. Then process visibility. Yeah, the name already, I think, is quite clear. That means you get, or you gain visibility onto your processes, and that can be your own workflow processes, but that can also be other processes from other systems. It does not only have to be the workflow management itself, but also other processes. And then you can have dashboards to see metrics about your processes and stuff like that. Then the inbox, the main entry point, actually for the end user who uses the workflow and has tasks to execute. And then you see here tightly integrated with intelligent robotic process automation and conversational AI. So that's one goal, to have this integration to other technologies that are related to digital process automation. Again, one big picture. Just to make it clear again, and you see a lot of SAP services and applications here. Basically, the workflow management is in the middle of everything. Being able to connect everything. So you could connect, like the previous example, SuccessFactors via the workflow with S/4HANA Cloud, for example, or some other applications that even run in the business technology platform. So you see here, we still see at some points the name cloud platform. This will take a while until it disappears, I guess. Yeah, do more with less. So the goal is to make it easy for developers and for the users to work with the workflow, flexibly adapt to new requirements. That's part of it. So it should be very easy to adjust your processes, adjust decisions, and yeah, basically have a process that is evolving over the time. That's not just standing still, but you always see what could be improved and improve your process on the go. Yeah, one more slide. That's sort of in the overview area and top level. So this is about the workflow solution portfolio at SAP, because the business technology platform workflow management, as we can see on the right hand side, that's not the only thing that is there, and it only exists since a few years. Currently there's a lot of development in this area, so it becomes really very useful and very good. But yeah, you see here, we also have other solutions. So, for example, the SAP Business Workflow. As I said before, I'm also teaching those courses, those trainings, and this one, it resides in the on-premise systems basically. So on the ABAP application server. And you have it in S4HANA, you have it in the Business Suite, ECC, in CRM, SRM. So everywhere you can use the SAP Business Workflow, but it's just a local workflow management system or execution engine. So whenever you actually want to integrate with other systems, then this one becomes, maybe not the best solution. Then you would choose, nowadays you would choose the SAP Workflow Management running in the cloud. Before that came up, this sort of capability to have processes spanning over different systems, this was also required. So there were, and there still are, the SAP process orchestration functionalities like SAP Business Process Management. So you could somehow say it's a predecessor of SAP Workflow Management, because also there you have this capability to connect systems. You can still use it. It's still there, and it's still in use. And it always depends a little bit on the scenario. So let's say you have a system landscape that's only on premise, and then you have maybe several on-premise systems, and you just want to connect those. You can do it with a cloud workflow, but you don't have to. So you could also just do it with the SAP BPM. But if you want to go this way into the cloud and you want to also gain this experience, then you can do it via the SAP Workflow Management running in the cloud. And then apart from that, you see other cloud applications. So each of those, they have their own, also local workflow engines. But whenever you want to connect them, again, SAP Workflow Management. Regarding development and processes in SAP Workflow Management, there are basically two different paradigms you could follow. You see it here on the one hand side, live process, and on the other hand, custom process. So why did I create this slide? I think it's important to understand, especially when you may have made the experience with on-premise business workflow, that you have the possibility to create everything from scratch and do it all on your own. So that would be the right-hand side, custom process. You use the development tooling offered by SAP and create your own process, and it's totally custom made. And you're as flexible as you want to be. And then on the other hand, there's the so-called live process content, and that's pre-packaged content that you can use on demand. So it's not there in your workflow management subscription, but if you want to have it, you can import it. So I will show that there's a thing called Process Hub, and you can go there, discover the content, and then import it into your workflow management subscription or account. The advantage here is it's more or less ready to use. So there are still some adjustments to make, but then it's almost plug and play, import it and use it. Why did I mention the business workflow on premise? Because in that world, we also had something like that, but we call it SAP standard workflow. So that was standard workflow content delivered by SAP with your SAP product installation. So when the product was installed, you also directly got all of these SAP standard workflows. And then you could just decide, do you want to activate them or not? But they were all there. In this case, they are not there. You just use them if you want to use them. Okay, let's come to the workflow service. I see there are already some questions, but I will come to that later if it's okay for you. Or let me just have a quick look. Maybe there's something I could just answer now. Okay, maybe, yeah, I can already talk about it, but you will also see it now with the next slides. Bijou, how different from SAP Business Workflow or how similar to it is the SAP Workflow Management in terms of capabilities and design? So I would say it's quite different. Just because the one is running in the cloud and you have this sort of subscription and you are a tenant of the service. And in the business workflow world, you have your on-premise system where you have the business workflow engine running. So you have the engine running locally, while here workflow management is running in the cloud. Also from the tooling and everything, there's a big difference. In SAP Business Workflow, we did not use BPMN, but that is used in the SAP Workflow Service, as you will see. So it's quite a big difference, I would say. In slide 11, one see the word workflow in 3 places. How are they different or related? I will come to that later, I would say. When you say about workflow management subscription, what does it mean? Is it about some license requirement in cloud terms? Yes. So usually you have a business technology platform account. So there you have some license agreement. And then there's this huge set of capabilities and services. And you just pick the ones that you actually need and use them. And that's what I mean by subscription. So if you don't need them, you don't subscribe to these services, and then you also don't pay for these services. And that's actually a big difference to the on-premise world, where you had like a license for a certain amount of years to be paid in advance or something like that. Maybe we can come to that later again also. Let's see how much time we have. Okay, SAP Workflow Service. So now that's one part of the workflow management. Yeah, some general capabilities, very high level, enhanced productivity with coordinated and accountable tasks. So you have your tasks in your workflow and you want them to be sent to the actual processors or users who should process them. Rapidly build and modify workflow applications with web-based tooling. So I will show you the web-based tooling, and I would say this is a big difference to the business workflow, because all the tooling is also running in the cloud. Business Application Studio, and that's a huge difference. Tailor your business processes by extending cloud applications and workflows. Yeah, you are very flexible because basically you can do everything that you want in the cloud, having different like small applications connecting with the workflow, for example, using the workflow APIs. Usage scenarios. I mean, these are not all of the usage scenarios, but they are the main usage scenarios, or let's say roles of users that we could have for the workflow service. So on the one hand side, the end user who mainly uses the My Inbox application to access his or her tasks. That's all the end user cares about. And you may have other applications that integrate with the workflow, but My Inbox is the main application, and yeah, pre-delivered. You might have seen it before, otherwise you will see it soon. Then as an administrator, I want to be able to see which workflow definitions are activated and available in the system, so that you can do via monitor workflows, workflow definitions. And you also want to find out about running workflow instances and about the status of these workflow instances. So this you can also do with this monitor workflows, workflow instances app. And then, last but not least, the developer. At least from my side, that's the most interesting part. As I said before, SAP Business Application Studio with the tooling, and you will soon see it in a demo, and workflow APIs that can be used to integrate with the service. Let's go into the system. So I have a link here. I need to move it here. So could someone just please confirm that you can see it? Maybe via chat. Yes, okay, thank you. So this is the so-called Fiori Launchpad. And if you have worked, for example, in the area of S4HANA, then you might also know the style of the Fiori Launchpad. So basically, it's just a page where you have these different tiles linking into different sorts of applications. And here, when you have the subscription to the workflow management, then you get a predefined Fiori Launchpad with all the applications that you need in the workflow management area. But you could also create own Fiori Launchpads, which can include other tiles and other functionality. But that's the basic workflow management functionality. So as I told before, we have the My Inbox. And that's currently empty here. You see 0. So currently there are no items available to be processed. But usually you would see a list of all your tasks here. You can click on the task and then you would see the details for the tasks and what to do. We can soon see that when we start an instance of a workflow. So using the monitor workflows, workflow definitions, we can find out about the deployed workflow definitions. And we currently have 4 here. And one of them is called BP Creation A00. So this one, it's part of the course I told you about. And in that course, in that classroom training, the participants are developing this workflow definition themselves. Deploy it, and when it's deployed, you can use it. So you can see here, we have a Start New Instance button. So here we could directly start the workflow instance from here. In a productive scenario, you would not, or probably would not do it like that, but you would have like a Start UI, a Start application, and then you click on that Start application, enter some data, and then click Submit or something like that, and that would start the workflow. In our case, we don't have it, so we start the workflow from here. Now, when you start a workflow, usually it needs some sort of data. So as just said, if you would have a Start UI, an application, you would enter the data. In this case, we cannot enter the data, but we have the possibility to give a JSON context, and the context would then contain all of the information. And in this case, it's a BP request. So we want to create a business partner using this workflow. And the business partner should be created in an S4 cloud system. But we initiate this workflow from our cloud platform workflow management. So we give some information about the business partner to be created, like an address here, text information, and name information. So I will just say Start New Instance and close here. Good. So we could find out about running instances. Now clicking here on show instances for this particular workflow definition, or we could go back and click on workflow instances here and then see here the new running workflow instance, create business partner, NextGen Consulting A00, started by CLD 500 -A01. So you didn't see how I logged in, but actually I'm logged in with a user with that name. So these are the users which will also be used in this CLD 500 course. And we can see it here. Additionally, we can see in this monitor app, we can see again the workflow context with all the information in it. And this context information, it can evolve during the process. So additional information can come into it, or also information could be removed from it. And we see the execution log. So what did happen when? And here we see 17:43:31, the workflow was started. So this is my time here in Germany currently. So this is a technical thing. We have the gateway in the workflow, and then we have our first task here. Please add bank account data to business partner. And that is a so-called user task. You see it here because of this icon, and the recipient is our user. So actually our user should have a task in his inbox now. So let's go back, see the inbox. And yeah, it's right. We have one task here to be processed. And now you can see, okay, this is how the task displays. I just saw there's one more question. My inbox is designed for both task and notifications messages, question mark. Actually, no, it's not, at least it's not thought or designed like that. So basically it's only for tasks. So messages within a Fiori Launchpad, there are different capabilities. So you could receive messages, just in your current view, and they would pop up, something like that, for example. But that always depends on the scenario. But the My Inbox is, it's designed for the workflow tasks. But it could, apart from the workflow management, workflow tasks, it could also show other tasks. You just have to provide them to the application, but that's possible. But yeah, the second question that you asked, is it expected to be one common place for all cloud and on-premise solutions relevant for user? I can answer that with a yes. So that's one goal of the My Inbox application, to only have one My Inbox, and then you could find your tasks from different systems there. Yes. Good. So what are we expected to do? We should add some data here. So let's just quickly do it. So we add bank account data. We add a bank name, and I just do it very quickly. And you see we could even add more rows here to add even more bank accounts. So that's capabilities that are delivered via the tooling in the workflow service. Confirm. The task disappears from the inbox. And then just let's quickly check again the monitor workflows and see what's now happening now. And we would find out, actually the context, there's a lot more information now. For example, results of a rule service that was executed, and some other information. Also, our bank account data, it's now inside of the context. And then when we check the execution log, you would see, okay, after I did this task here, a lot of stuff happened. I won't explain everything in detail now because that's too much for this session. But just to show you, for example, here a rule service was executed to determine approvers. And then you see here, we have a new task, please approve business partner creation. And now the recipient is another user. It's a manager user. So basically, the rule determined the approver for the next task and who should receive the next task. So if I now log in with that user, I would find the approval task in that user's inbox. Okay, that was a preview on the workflow service, or not preview, but yeah, let's say a demo for that. So we have a few more things. The business rule service, also part of workflow management. But now a major capability of that one is that it's not limited to our cloud workflows. So also here, with the business rule service, we can create rules and rule projects that are used by other applications, and that can also be deployed to other runtimes. So in our case, we would deploy the rule into the cloud runtime, but it's even possible to deploy rules from the business rule service into, for example, back into an S4 system. Then to execute the rules via the business rule framework there. That's a capability. Then let's see what else do we have. Agility. So we encapsulate the business logic from the application logic and make business changes without the need to redevelop the application. So basically, by encapsulating the business logic from the application logic, we have it separated, and it's easier to change the business logic without changing the application. So let's say in our example that we just saw, the approvers change, or who's responsible in what case, the responsibility changes. You just change the business rule, but the workflow can just stay the same, and you don't have to change the workflow. That's the idea, and that holds true for each use case. So also if you have other applications, not only the workflow application using the rules. Yeah, reuse. So it's easy to reuse your rule services in different places, in different workflows, for example. If you need the same approver determination in different workflows, you can just reuse it. And what are the outcomes? Yeah, easy automation of decision logic, central decision management for the whole enterprise, basically. So in the best case, all of your rules are defined in this one place, and then they are just used in different places. And then last but not least, open APIs. So using the APIs, we can even integrate it with other SAP and non-SAP applications. Yeah, so what would be the entry point here from a workflow management perspective? It's this manage rule projects tile. And yeah, let's have a look again. We just go back to our Fiori Launchpad and click on manage rule projects. Okay, so you see we have 3 projects here, and the one that I want to show you is called BP Creation A00, so same name as the workflow that I showed to you, because it's related. So this is what you would do also in the training. So these are the rules for the business partner creation, and when we click on it, we can find out there are different rule services in it. So when I click here, one to determine approvers and one to determine if the approval is even required or not. So within the workflow, at first, this service would be called find out, do we need an approval or not? If not, just go on. And if yes, then execute this rule here to determine the approvers. So that's what's happening there. I cannot go into detail here, just a few things. Data objects. These are, it's the data, the containers of data that is required in these rules. So some of them can be used as input and some of them can be used as output. So here, for example, business partner and address, these would be the input parameters. And then depending on the business partner and the address, it's decided if approval is required and who are the approvers. And these are then the two result parameters. You can see here is approval required, for example, type element. If I just click on it, we would find out it's of type Boolean because we just need to define true or false in this case. But it can also be structures like having more than one field. And then coming to the actual rules. So these are just the rule services which expose our rules to the outside. So when we have these services and they are deployed, then we can call them. But the actual rules that get executed, they are defined in the rules tab here. And let's just have a look at the determine approvers as an example. So you have an idea of what that looks like. In this case, we have a rule of type decision table. And a decision table, you have one side here telling or defining when should something happen, and then in the then you can decide what should be the result. So here, for example, if the business partner category and industry are empty, that means in this case, we don't care what the category and the industry is. We only care about the postal code. So if the postal code is 69190, then we want the user ID CLD 500 MGR A00 to be the approver. So this was actually the case previously, what I showed to you. I executed the workflow. The business partner had the postal code, this one, and that's why we got this result. So in other cases, we might get another result, and then the result might be a user group of users. And you can see my email address. So I receive an email, but sure, this could be others. And this, everything that you see here, it's totally flexible, and yeah, you can define whatever you want or need for your use case. So that's about the business rules service. Then the process visibility service. So what are the capabilities or goals? I mean, the name, it basically describes what the service is about. Process visibility. So we want to gain visibility into different kinds of processes and want to find out, for example, as you can see here, about the status of certain processes, about bottlenecks in certain processes. We maybe want to define actions that can be done in certain situations. Like, let's say the workflow got stuck for some reason, and then we want to have an action to send it maybe to an administrator or something like that. So we could define these sort of things. We can have own workspaces for these processes for different use cases. You will see we have dashboards to show different performance indicators. correlate processes. So let's say process A, something happens. How does that relate to something that happens in process B? And then here you see as a planned capability predict process issues. So yeah, the vision is to have machine learning or artificial intelligence capabilities that can help to predict certain issues that could occur in a process even before they actually happen. So these three types that you see here are the main entry points to use this service. So again, let's check them. Back to the Launchpad. I will just close this one. So let's first of all go into the development tools, configure visibility scenarios. So here we create a new scenario. And usually when you start it, you have an empty process workspace here, and then you can add scenarios. So here we have one scenario for the workflow that I showed to you. I click on it, and then we go into that project. Yeah. Okay. So at first this would be empty, and then we can add processes that should be monitored here. You would click the plus button, and then you can see the second option is add workflow from SAP Workflow Service. So this is if we have workflow management and workflow service, and we want to observe and process here. But you see there are also other possibilities. For example, SAP Business Workflow. So gain visibility on the on-premise business workflow. And then we just need the integration into that system. So that is something where development is being done and also has been done to make this integration happen and make it easier. Also Qualtrics, so this company that SAP acquired to have experience management, user experience, employee experience management, and to have these sort of surveys that you can observe. You can also add them here and then create dashboards to observe your surveys and how they change. And then you could also add some other process that's maybe not even running in an SAP system. But to do that, you actually need to have the integration. And the integration that would happen via APIs and so-called events. So if you have a workflow service process, you have a lot of events just by default by creating your workflow. So for example, here you see you have events for certain tasks that appear in your workflow. Enrich bank account data created. So this event, it just happens automatically whenever the task to enrich bank account data is created. So and as a user or developer, we do not need to take care that these events take place. And then you can use these events, for example, to create so-called phases. So in this case, we have 4 phases: initialization, bank account data enrichment, approval, and business partner creation. So each phase in our process or in the workflow, that it can consist of several steps that happen. And a phase is defined by a start event or start events and an end event. So we say, when that event happens, the phase starts. When that event happens, the phase ends. And then we can make these phases visible for our process. Yeah, then I will not go into detail for all of these things. Performance indicators, that's important here, because then you can create any sort of performance indicator that you want to have for your process. For example, you see here some standard KPIs like open instances. You choose a representation form. So how should it be displayed in the process dashboard afterwards? And what's the actual data that should be displayed? And then, you have many possibilities to create any sort of performance indicators here. These performance indicators, or this scenario, once you have activated it, you can find it using the process workspace. And here we see it. Just click on it. And then we will receive this dashboard with all the performance indicators that were defined in the visibility scenario. So for example, here completed instances 5, 2 without violations, 2 with violations, 1 has been cancelled. And so we can at all time have an overview over our processes. And it would even be possible to drill into it. So to click on it and then find out about these different instances, for example, completed with violations. And okay, I think there's some issue in the data that we have here. But then you can see here these phases that were defined in the visibility scenario. We can find out also for running process, like find out in which phase of the process are we currently in. And then we could also have actions to do something if we are in a certain phase of the process. This as an overview for the process visibility. And then here the monitor visibility scenarios, that's mainly for the technical part, like what's happening in the background. So as I just said, we have these events that are happening in the background, and the events are acquired on a regular basis using a job here. So then we could find these events if they were processed or not. Okay. So the third service of our services here. Then a quick look into process flexibility in live processes. What is that? So I won't read through everything here. That's too much. Just the most important thing, you see it in the sentence here. I'll just read it out. Live processes offer discovery of predefined content, real-time authoring and launch, publish to production of non-complex business processes without coding. Customers go live and stay flexible in production. So I think the most important terms here are predefined content, non-complex business processes without coding, and flexible in production. So basically, you have this predefined content. You just have to perform very few steps to actually deploy it and to make use of it, and then you have the running process without needing to develop your own process from scratch. And again, in this graphic, you see we have then again the integration with all of these other services that we partly already heard about, like the business rules or process visibility. So these can be part of the pre-defined packages. You import them, and then you also have the business rules project, and you also have the process visibility scenarios in place, and you can just activate them. Or if you need some adjustments, you can adjust them and activate them afterwards. So the main entry point for that is this tile here, Process Flexibility Cockpit. Let's go into this one. So we have one area here showing our live processes. So these are the processes that we have already imported. And then here you see discovered packages. So here we could find out what processes are available for us or what packages are available. And you see here currently there are 21 packages, but this is subject to change. So there are new processes coming up, existing ones are being improved, and then there's also the long-term vision for this to make it also possible for customers and partners to create their own content packages and then make them available to other partners and customers. So basically, you could commercialize your own workflow scenario that you created and make it available via SAP Marketplace to others. But that's something that is not there yet. That's just an outlook into the future. Currently, we have packages delivered by SAP. So you would choose a package, for example, like business partner payment, data change approval. So that's quite similar to what we saw before, just that the other one was developed by us and this one is from, or let's say the other one was developed by me for the course, and this one is developed by SAP. So you would find out what is part of this package. So we see there are decisions in the package, there's a visibility scenario in the package, and there's the actual process in the package. And then here you would see there's always a setup guide explaining how to import this process. So unfortunately, it's not only one click. So in some very easy cases, it might be that one click is enough. So just click import and then everything is done. But in other cases, there are still some things that need to be done, like explained in the setup guide. For example, you need some certain destinations in your cloud platform or business technology platform account, or some other services activated. You would find that in the setup guide. But then you click import, and after you have imported such a process, you would see the imported flag here, and then you can configure it. And configure means you just go back to your cockpit here and click on that process that you have imported. So once you have imported it, you just need to check the decisions projects and see if all the rules are okay for your business scenario. And if not, you can change them. You would check the visibility scenario if everything is fine, or if you need additional performance indicators. And then you would create a process, a so-called process variant. Let's just have a look at one, which then results in a workflow definition that can be executed. So process variants, they are a concept developed to make it easier for non-technical users to create simple processes from a template. So within the content here, we get delivered a template, a blueprint of a process, which contains certain steps. And then as the business expert, we can adjust this template to our need, just using these steps. So for example, here, we have the initialization and finalization, they need to stay, but we could add, for example, another approval step in this editor, or we could also add this generic extension step, which could be used to then cause some other workflow out of this standardized workflow. Yeah, so this is the so-called no-code tooling, which can be used by basically anyone who has a little bit of knowledge about the business process, and you don't need much technical knowledge to be able to use this tool. And then once you have activated it, the process variant, you can start these processes, and then you would again find the insights in this dashboard here. So that's then the result of the visibility scenario, and we saw that before. Just that in this case, we don't need to do much of development because most of the stuff is already there. Okay. Yeah, so maybe I think we haven't really talked about the Business Application Studio beforehand. I just showed you the the entry points for the end users, so the My Inbox and the monitor workflows. But if you now are a workflow developer and you want to develop your very custom scenario, so your own workflow, then these predefined process packages might not be enough, and you want to develop your own workflow. And in that case, you use Business Application Studio. So let's just have a look at that one. I have it here. Okay, I need a user. I hope. Okay. So it seems like this user does not work currently. Let me just check with another user. One moment, please. Okay, so at least we can have a look with this user. So in the Business Application Studio, you have these so-called dev spaces. So they are encapsulated development environments where you can develop applications, not only workflow, but also other cloud applications. And here we, let's just start this one because we already have one. So we need to wait a few seconds until it started. Okay, there was the question, can the user see the execution timestamps in their respective time zone? I guess you mean for the inbox or for the monitor workflows. Actually, I think it depends on your browser settings and what time zone your local operating system is in, and then you can see it adjusted to your time zone. Will business rules service come along with workflow subscription, or it is a separate subscription? So basically, we have this one offering called SAP Workflow Management, and then these separate services are included in the workflow management. So if you want to have workflow management, you need workflow service, business rule service, and process visibility service. But if you just need the business rule service and you don't need the workflow capabilities, then it's also possible to just have a subscription for the business rule service standalone without the additional workflow capabilities. In my local, it is always draft when this will change from draft to production or released version. Okay, let me come to those additional questions later on, because now we have the Business Application Studio running, so I could just quickly go into it. So this is what the Business Application Studio looks like. There's a start page. You can start new projects, for examples. And this is a whole development environment based on the actual tooling from Microsoft Visual Studio Code, which was open sourced. So a lot of this stuff might remind you of Microsoft Visual Studio Code if you know it. And yeah, here we have a project, BP Creation. And inside of that project, we have a workflow module. And inside of the workflow module, we have the workflows folder. And yeah, here we can have workflow definition files ending with .workflow. That's what it looks like here. And yeah, basically you have this editor. And for those of you who know the business workflow, you might already see it's quite different here. So this is BPMN 2.0, so Business Process Model and Notation is the modeling standard for these workflows here. And then, yeah, you could just add new tasks, for example, user task, service, script task, mail task, reference another subflow. So these are the task options. You have these gateway options to change the flow of the process. And yeah, several other things like events, for example. So you could have certain events that get triggered from your workflow. And yeah, what else do we have? That's basically it, I would say. And then, yeah, you would use these service tasks, for example, to call other systems. So in this case, we would call the S4 cloud system via destination and do something. It's not finished here, so we do not see everything, but I hope you get the idea. So we can add certain tasks here. These ones are executed by users. These ones are automatically executed by other systems. So calling APIs, for example. This one is automatically executed, sending mails. And then we have the script task to do some basic scripting in JavaScript to maybe, for example, calculate something or change the process context data and stuff like that. Just a sneak peek into the business application studio. But you see, there's a lot of tools here, a lot of buttons, a lot of stuff that you can do. This is just the basic thing, the workflow editor to use when developing workflows. Yeah, just quickly for the APIs, because I talked about it before. So all of these different services, they can also be called and integrated using APIs. And I will show a small example for the workflow API. But you see also for the rules, there are APIs for process flexibility and visibility and for the inbox. How could we find out about these APIs? There's a central place called the SAP API Business Hub. And there you can find all kinds of APIs, also for S4 systems, for example, but also a lot of cloud APIs. So the URL is api.sap.com. So it's quite easy. And then you can use it and just explore the content here. And I would just search now for workflow service. And then we have this package of different APIs here. And you see here we have the distinction between Cloud Foundry APIs and Neo APIs. So the old environment and the new cloud environment. And then there's the inbox API and the workflow API. And then let's drill down further into the workflow API. You see different entities here, and then how you could retrieve information about these entities, or also how you could change them. So for example, here we can retrieve task instances. So one specific task that is to be executed by a user. And but we could also change or update a task via the API. So as a developer, you could, for example, use curl in the command line to do this, or you use Postman. So that's what I do. I use Postman to call APIs, and I just show this workflow instances API. So here you see the whole URL for the service, and then in the end you see workflow service, REST, v1, workflow instances. So I want to find out about workflow instances that are currently existing for my account. Yeah, authorization is required. I did get a token before this session, so it should still be valid. And then I just do send and see what is the result. So we did get a result here. Actually, status is 200, so that sounds good. And then let's have a look at the body. And you can see there are several instances of workflows currently, and you get all the information here in such a JSON structure. So this first one here, that's the one we just started before. So here you see the UTM time, so not the German time. And you also see the user who started the workflow. So just to show you, okay, we have this possibility to use the APIs to get information, and we could use these APIs in other applications for integration reasons. Yeah, we are almost at the end of the official part of the session. So I've only got the slides for the Outlook. And then afterwards I can go through the remaining questions that we have. So yeah, here you see a link to roadmaps.sap.com. So that's a page where you could find out about planned product changes, planned new features and stuff like that. Just as a disclaimer here, and you will also find it on this Explorer webpage. Everything that you find here is not guaranteed that it will be available. It's just what is planned, and you can see it somehow as a prioritization of what features are currently planned for here workflow management. But as you know, in software development, there are always changes happening. Stuff is delayed, stuff is coming earlier. Things don't go as expected, but as a rough idea, you can find what's coming up next. Just let's click on it. A lot of stuff, so I won't go through all of it. Maybe just a few things. Here, enhanced live process content. So there are coming up new capabilities for the live process content. Because as I told you, the vision in the long term is that also as a partner or customer, you can provide your own content to others. Yeah, and then there's a lot of other stuff coming up. Visibility on workflows from business process management, for example. So you could use the process visibility to monitor a workflow that is running in the business process management solution. Yeah, and in this tool, you can also find out about many other SAP products. Yeah, and then last but not least, a little bit of advertisement here for the upcoming course. I mean, also during the sessions, you saw at some points this term CLD 500 coming up, and some of the stuff that I showed to you is content that will be developed in this training. And I just wanted to show it to you here if you are interested, or if you might be interested in the future. So that's an offering of a 3-day classroom instructor-led training that we plan to release very soon. Like it's almost finished. I can't say an exact date, but I guess around April it will be there. So maybe one more month. And you could find it using the training.sap.com URL, our training web shop. Currently, there's not a course date yet, so it cannot be booked currently, but as soon as it's there, it can also be booked. Yeah, that's for the training. And yeah, let me just say at this point already, thank you very much for joining this session and for your interest. I hope you could find out some new things, gain some new knowledge about the topic. You might have seen I'm also doing another session about workflow management, how to get started, how to get started your own workflow project. So if you're interested, you could also join that. That one, it will be a bit more in detail what to do, and not that much overview as we saw it in this session. Yeah, thank you very much.